I think for someone like you that has worked with so many professional teams and so many professional players, um, it may become like it's like a common stance maybe now. But I kind of want to hone back um, to 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 the Lakers and the Bulls, kind of when you were working with them. Um, when and because you had just mentioned to be in order to learn, become a teacher. So going off of those two words and those two ideas, um, what were you able to teach the Bulls and the Lakers, and then at the same time, what were you able to learn from the likes of maybe a Jordan and a Kobe?
It's not for those who need it; it's for those who want it, and it's people who are able to have awareness and self-regulate to get to self-mastery. It's a tenacity. It's a willingness to tolerate discomfort, but it's also a passion. Is somebody wanting to be the best, wanting to, pay the price, and sometimes it's imbalanced because they're wholly committed to it. So work, love, and play is hard to get them all together. So you might be in work and love what you're doing and all of that, but you could be doing something else. So to do that, you're saying no to something else. And so for me, what I learned from folks is because people ask me, and what was fascinating about MJ and Kobe and of course there's other people like Shaq and Dennis Rodman, other people I work with. Everybody has something different, and I learn from everybody. They have their own uniqueness, and they bring something that's amazing. But the thing about it was the love for the game, and the ability to embrace, say yes to whatever comes up, and learn from it because they've had adversity and they had to go through hardship and whatnot. But it was just the idea, and then seeing them evolving, seeing them get to the point where they go from being excellent themselves to actually helping other people be excellent. And you can see Kobe's legacy as where he's had a huge impact because he's more out there than MJ, because MJ's a billionaire and he was like an icon, and it was just like, so it was a little bit different for each person, and he grew up in a different era. Like LeBron, I have to mention LeBron because he's in that category. I don't think he gets enough credit, and his social awareness, his emotional intelligence, where I mean, he's doing things and longevity thing, and he's just an amazing person that I don't get to talk about that much because I haven't met him and I haven't worked with him. But I could see that greatness, I could see that tenacity, I could see that commitment, and I could see that compassion for others and wanting to make other people. And I can name many. I mean, I grew up with Kareem and Jerry West and Bill Russell, the Celtics, and all of those guys, Wilt Chamberlain, all of those folks. So there's just many of them, and that's just basketball. But then there's football and baseball and this people that are just great human beings. And so yeah, so I learned from everybody, and it's you learn things, you learn how they see things, how they relate and whatnot. But it's really what I'm really learning, and is that you have to have a tremendous commitment to your self development. What they taught me is this idea that, well, they taught me, but they embodied what I find to be true, which is you have to know yourself. So I know, like know yourself. That's in Greek. That's very important. To know yourself. But you got to know yourself so you can be yourself, so you can express yourself, so you can share yourself. And so this idea of staying in their lane, knowing who they are, and embracing that and expressing it, because everybody I talked to or talked about, whether it's Dr. J or Kobe or MJ or LeBron, Shaq or anybody, they emulate somebody first, and then at some point they got to be themselves. And think about Tiger Woods with his father, and the Williams sisters, and everybody at some point, even Steph Curry. His dad was an amazing shooter and player, but at some point you can emulate him, but then you got to be your own person, and this is why you see a lot of celebrities offspring that really don't make it, or they don't, and maybe they're not supposed to, but having that that expectation that you have to be like them and not be yourself and not do something else. I think of Ronald Reagan and his son Ron. His son Ron is totally opposite to the dad. Amazing person, but more low keyed and I just respect the hell out of him because he's real. You understand what I'm saying? And so that thing, and so that authenticity is what I'm talking about. These folks being authentic. Now, there's times when you can't be authentic or be unlocked or be mindful all the time, but for a majority of the time, or for a good period of time, and being able to be productive and to be in flow. So there's some of the stuff that I learned from them that I can't really put in words. But I will say is it's consistent what I know about this idea of having a, like MJ, his ability to concentrate is very different. Kobe, his ability to do things, be tenacious. Not that the other guys aren't, but just they demonstrate things to you, and then the willingness to call somebody out of the blue, or to be relentless enough to just ask people to help you. I remember when Kobe asked MJ, how did he know? They're playing against each other. How do you know when the double team's coming? And MJ would tell him. I'm pretty sure they asked Dr. J. Dr. J took Magic home, when he was thinking about going in pros and stuff. And Charles Barkley mentored him, and that's what you do. You give it away to keep it, and you keep it going. To make sense, Bill Russell. I remember Bill Russell coming to UMass and spending time with Dr. J, and we also had Muhammad Ali come up there, and we had other people. So that ability to connect with others is really, really huge. But I think their emotional intelligence, to some degree, to learning how to do certain things, but their commitment to and the love of what their craft was. I say they're all different, but to me, it's like, but it's not only just learning, but inspiring. So I think it goes both ways, right? Um, and obviously, yeah. And so a lot of these relationships I have, people don't even know I had those kind of relationships, and I don't have pictures with me walking with them and whatnot. Maybe with but it's interesting because in 2015, I talk about it in my book, when Kobe called me and I went and hung out with him for a few days, and it was away from. And it's funny, but I have some Miami Dolphins I work with when I work with Miami. That when you see them off, I saw them at a boxing, because I was working with boxing, and we have a different conversation, and it's totally different when you're away from that stuff, and you don't have the security guards and all that. You get kind of deep with it, but you don't even know the impact you've had on people until you have that ability to communicate and reflect on what's happening. And I think a lot of folks I work with, what I'm teaching them is implicit learning or non-declarative learning, which is it's not conscious, but then it will express itself sometime in the future. It's like you learn how to meditate today, and then 2 years from now you're more compassionate with the thing that you weren't with. You just don't know. It could be next week, it could be in the next hour, but you're making these investments with yourself, with life. So being a seeker and just seeking to understand, and being open to seeing things differently, because the way I work with the Bulls, and the way I work with the Lakers, or with the teams I work with now, or the individual players, Olympians, and other folks that I continue to work with and whatnot. Some of them, probably want to stay on the down low, but it's really just teaching them. It's the same drill, man. It's the same drill. It's like, helping them be who they are, helping them unlock, helping them to understand mindfulness is a way of being. And it's not just mindfulness. As I talk about those superpowers. You got to have mindfulness, but you have to have the integrity. You have to have the wisdom, and you have to be able to know how to work hard, and how to balance your effort, so you're not working too hard, but you're not working too lax, and how to get into flow. And the best way to get in the flow is not to try to get in the flow, but understand what the flow triggers are, and how you create this idea of seeing things in new and fresh ways. Because some of the flow triggers I learned from Steve Kotler. We wrote a lot of books. One of them, The Art of the Impossible. He talks about this idea of novelty and complexity and unpredictability, which people wouldn't realize that unpredictability is a flow trigger. Just not knowing what's going to happen, but embracing it and saying, okay, I'm gonna go with it and see what happens. And there's many more, but that's just a few. So to me, it's about when you get to that, and that's how it helped me when I work with athletes, because I talk to them about being in flow, talking to them about being in the moment, and being in that silence, that stillness, and coming out of that. And when you're performing at your highest capacity,
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. Not just athletes, but us as parents, or doing a podcast and asking questions. Your ability to be in the moment and to be able to change and go with the flow instead of being rigid. It takes a lot of courage, man. It takes a lot to be able to do that because it's not comfortable. But then it'll get comfortable if you do it enough.